إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين كانوا يهدون بالحق وبه يعدلون وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم يبعثون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثات بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Dear respected brothers and sisters, bearing in mind this is the 6 weeks holidays, we have a younger congregation here. Today's khutbah is tailored for the youngsters. You are the next generation. Once we move on, you will naturally fill those places. You will be part and parcel of this society. So it's important to understand what is your role as a Muslim. What is your role as a son? What is your role going to be as a father? What is your role going to be as a husband? We find all of these answers in Islam. The beautiful religion of Islam has always been about uniting the communities. The last few weeks we have seen in the news the rioting, the far right, who got together from across the country, and they were polarizing the community, disuniting the community, causing carnage, causing mayhem, whereas Islam is about uniting the communities. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam speaks about a beautiful characteristic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves when it comes to the Muslims. The hadith is collected in the great works of Shaykh Albani rahimahullah in his book At-Targhib wa Tarhib. Where our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves ahabbun nasi ilallahi ta'ala anfa'ahum linnas. The best type of people that Allah loves are those who bring benefit to mankind, bring people together. وَأَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. And from the actions that Allah loves are the following actions. سُرُورٌ يُدْخِلْهُ عَلَى مُسْلِمٍ. To make your Muslim brother or sister happy. يَكْشِفُ عَنْهُ كُرْبَةً. To relieve them of any hardship. يَقْضِي عَنْهُ دَيْنًا. To relieve them of any debt. وَيَطْرُدُ عَنْهُ جُوعًا. And to also relieve them of any hunger. So if you have anyone in Oldham, as a Muslim community, you show your love for your brother firstly by smiling. And then if you realize there is somebody from your community who is going through difficulty, what do? You try and help them out. If it's a financial difficulty, like our Nabi said, you come together, you relieve them of their debt. If it's a difficulty when it comes to putting food on the table, and they're going through hunger, you come together as a community. The hadith doesn't stop here. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam went on to mention that it is better for me, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, to walk with my brother in need, to assist my brother in need. Whatever problem he or she is going through, if they are a Muslim, to help them. It is better for me to walk with them than to spend 1 month in Masjid Nabawi doing what? I'tikaf. I want you to think about this. Self-centric worship. Me, myself and I, my relationship with Allah. Our Nabi is saying, put that to the side. It's never been about you and your relationship. It's been about our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a community. With what is taking place across the world. Forget even across the world, with more recently the rioting that's been taking place. Did they go after anyone else? Were they going outside gurdwaras? Were they going outside the mandirs? They were going outside the masajid. Islamophobia is on the rise. Yet we have certain Muslims, unfortunately, who do not see past their subjective and their sectarian bias, and they said, well, we cannot unite with this particular Muslim. He's a Deobandi, he's a Brelvi, he's whatever. Whereas our Nabi is saying, as a community, when you are facing challenges, you put your differences to the side temporarily and you come together to safeguard yourselves. This is exactly what our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught us. As a community, we are stronger. As a community, oh youngsters, you are the next generation. We will be more united. Today's khutbah, I want to share one basic incident, fundamental pillar or incident that shows to us how important unity is, even if you have to unite with non-Muslims to deal with oppression. We find these in the books of hadith. The narration is collected by Imam Bukhari. Hilf al-Fudul is a basic agreement that took place that any basic student of knowledge knows. But let me refresh it to you, brothers and sisters, especially when we are facing challenges in today's day and age. Hilf al-Fudul was an agreement that was done during the life of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam before he became a Nabi. The narrations mention, some narrations mention he was 18, some narrations mention he was around 20 years of age. No one is a Muslim at that time. There are mushrikeen everywhere at that time. The narration mentions a man comes all the way from Yemen to do Hajj. He brings some goods with him to do tijara, to do what? Business. And as he gets into Mecca, he sees a prominent figure in the community, Al-As bin Wa'il, the son of the prominent companion Amr bin As radiallahu ta'ala an. Remember, but this is before Islam. Al-As bin Wa'il sees the man. What do you have here? He says, I have these goods. Let me have a look at your goods. He takes the goods from him and then he says, okay, I will take these. Come back tomorrow, I will pay you tomorrow. The next day the man goes to him. My money. He goes, oh, come back, I'm busy today, come back tomorrow. A few more days go, Hajj finishes, and then the man has around a few days left. He has to go all the way back to Yemen. He needs money. How is he going to put bread on the table? How is he going to feed his family? So again he goes to Al-As bin Wa'il. He says, look, I got no time for you. The man is now oppressed. A man who's a traveler, he has no means, no one to help him. So he goes to the different tribes, Banu Makhzum, Banu Saham, Banu Adi. These people, he says, look, this man called Al-As bin Wa'il, he owes me money. They said, no one messes with Al-As bin Wa'il. He's a prominent figure. You know what? Just go. We don't want to stand up for you because Al-As bin Wa'il, he's a big leading figure in the community. The man, he is oppressed. He doesn't know what to do. He goes next to the Kaaba. There is a small mountain, Jabal Abi Qubais, a mound. He stands on the mound and he begins to address the people. He's oppressed. He's emotional. He goes, oh Quraysh, You say that you are people who look after your guests and you honor your guests. You look after the rights of every human being. Today, I have my rights violated. You have a chieftain amongst you who owes me money and he's refusing to pay me money. I am going to go all the way back to Yemen empty-handed. Quraysh, what kind of people are you? I am oppressed and there is no one to help me. And as he is lamenting and pouring out his heart, Zubair ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, remember all non-Muslims, he hears this, he stops, he goes, this is not right. This is not manly behavior. You cannot allow a person to take the right of someone else and then forsake his right. So he goes to a man called Abdullah bin Jad'an, a very influential person. He said, let's have a meeting in your house. From today we have to make sure that these things do not happen again. So they invite all the people, Banu Hashim, Banu Muttalib, and they invite our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam at the tender age of 18, 20. Why? Hikmah, wisdom. Wisdom. Mature individual. He sits in the meeting. He listens to what people are saying. And they said, from today we will stand up for the oppressed, even if the oppressor happens to be our son, daughter, from our religion, from our tribe, from our brotherly. We will never do favoritism. We will stick up for the oppressed. Now these people are all illiterate. They're not going to write it or type it out. What do? They go outside to the Kaaba. They dip their hands in perfume and they rub it on the cloth of the Kaaba to signify that the deal is done and dusted. From now on, we will proclaim that we will stand up for the rights of the oppressed, even if you don't belong to our religion. Even if you are not part and parcel of our faith, we will still stand up for you. Even if the person who has oppressed you is from our faith, because Allah loves justice. Now let's fast forward. This is the important bit now. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is 50 years of age. At the age of 40 he becomes a Nabi. For the 10 years or more, he's in his mid-50s, he's faced so much persecution. We don't have to go through the seerah. You know what's happening. Lost his uncle, persecuted. He's in Medina now and he's looking back at that particular event and he's reminiscing. Nostalgic. He's happy. Smile on his face. He says, لَقَدْ شَهِدْتُ فِي دَارِ عَبْدِ اللَّهِ بِن جَدْعَانِ حِلْفًا. I was there, I witnessed in the house of Abdullah bin Jad'an that beautiful pact. مَا أُحِبُّ أَنَّ لِي بِهِ حُمْرَ النَّعَمِ. Even if you were to say to me today, don't even bother attending this pact, we will give you a red-nosed camel as compensation. I will forsake this. I would say, no, forget, keep your camel. You know, this is like equivalent to a Ferrari these days. Keep it. I will make sure I participate in this. And then he said the beautiful words that should resonate with us unless you are sectarian. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, وَلَوْ دُعِيتُ إِلَيْهِ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ لَا أَجَبْتُ. Even now in Islam, if they called me to this meeting, the mushrikeen, and they said, help us, we are oppressed, I would participate in this meeting. I would put the differences to the side when it comes to fulfilling the rights of the oppressed. Where do you think I'm going with this? What do you think is happening in Gaza since October? 10 months. Over 40,000 who have been killed. Maybe 100,000 when they stop the fighting and they find these lifeless bodies under the rubble. We have so many issues taking place in our society, yet you have certain Muslims, unfortunately, who use weapon, they weaponize the deen. Akhi, you can't. Ikhwani, you can't. Because of their manhaj they're being beaten. Because of their manhaj they are being oppressed. What kind of sectarian? You have to be really lost spiritually and mentally to have these sectarian biases. Especially when our Nabi is saying, وَلَوْ دُعِيتُ إِلَيْهِ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ لَا أَجَبْتُ. Even now in Islam, I would sit with the mushrikeen to help bring back the rights of the oppressed, and you have your brothers and sisters who are being oppressed in Palestine, in Gaza. And we don't speak about this. It's not our problem. Let me tell you what our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, and this is very important for you because you are the next generation. Hadith collected by Imam Muslim. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi." Whoever sees any evil, any oppression taking place, try and stop it with your hand. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. If you are paralyzed, if you are weak, if you are cowardly, if you cannot do this, then at least speak out against this. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. And if you are still not able to do that, فَبِقَلْبِهِ. At least harbor a bad thought about this in your heart. That's the weakest. وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. That is the weakest of Iman. And sadly, some people who are the Iman police, and they say that it's all about Aqidah. Our Nabi is telling us where our Aqidah is here. Our Iman is tahta sifat, below zero. If we do not even feel or are able to do anything for our brothers and sisters, this is the state of our Iman. Our elders, Maulana Mahmud Rahimullah Mirpuri, the one who set up Jamiat al-Hadith, look at his life. That is why I think we have lost the direction. Everyone keeps talking about him, Rahimullah, why he brought people together. Sent by Sheikh bin Baz, Rahimullah, sent by Sheikh Albani to this country. In the 1980s, what was the big issue then? Kashmir was the big issue. He set up a movement called Tahreek-e-Kashmir. Go onto YouTube. They used to do regular conferences. On the stage, he would have different ulama. Deobandi, Brelvi. In the crowd, there would be thousands of people. Brelvi, Deobandi, Ahle Hadith. They would say, put your differences to the side. Our brothers and sisters are being killed in Kashmir. How are we going to address the problem? These were ulama. Now we have people put on a gutra on your head, say you love Saudi Arabia and you're going to Jannah. We love Quran and Sunnah, we don't love countries. Look at the state of the country now. Pop concerts, all of these things are happening. How can we face the people who we used to say these are innovators? Now they are saying to us, you used to say that you are on Quran and Sunnah, what is happening in your country? We are not even able to answer these people back now. Islam is not found in a country. It's not found with people, it's found with the book and the Sunnah. This could be anywhere, any part of the world. If it conforms to Quran and Sunnah, we take it. If it doesn't, we don't follow any culture, we don't follow any groups, we follow Quran and Sunnah. So, the point I'm making is that whenever you see any oppression in your life, whether it's here in the streets of Oldham, whether you know people are being bullied, their rights are being violated, never stick up for the bully, stick up for the one who's being bullied. Youngsters, this is the lesson we learn. Stick up for the mazloom, not for the zalim. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us to fear something that I fear that we are on the receiving end of anyway. It's too late. He said, ittaqu da'wat al-mazloom. Fear the dua of the mazloom. That mother now screaming as she sees her children being blown up. She's saying, where are the Muslims? Ittaqu da'wat al-mazloom. فَإِنَّهُ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ hijab. There is no hijab, there is no barrier between the dua of the mazloom and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no hijab. We heard about the story about the man who came home with the birth certificates in his hand of his newborn twins. He didn't even get home. He found out on the way home by his neighbors that your house has been blown up. The same twins that you went to get birth certificate, go back now and get a death certificate. Not only death certificate for your twins who were newly born, for your wife as well and your grandmother who were living in the house. People are going through these things and yet we have become desensitized. It's not our problem, is it? It's not our problem. Subhanallah, this shows us that rahmah has been taken from our hearts. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Irhamu man fil ard yarhamkum man fis sama. Show some rahmah to those on the earth. The one who is in the heavens will then show mercy to you. The only thing we will take from this, wallahi, it's sad to say this. The extreme people will say, I told you Allah is fis sama. We told you Allah is above that. Ya akhi, take the full hadith. Show mercy to the people as well. Have some mercy in your heart. Have some love in your heart. Don't be that extreme. Because we've seen what happens to these groups. They break up after 5 years. They themselves become more fragmented. They become polarized. They will take this masjid and they'll break off and they say, you are not on Quran and Sunnah enough. They will set up another masjid down the road. 10 years later, that masjid will also then break up to another sect. And they say, these were not on Quran and Sunnah. There's only me and 5 others left on Quran and Sunnah. This is the lack of barakah when you do not show mercy and rahmah. So the point I want to make is, open your hearts. You have a role to play in society. It's going to get worse. Following Islam is part of the solution, but not abstract concepts only. You have to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. You know, we keep telling people, if you only do this, this is barakah in this, barakah in this. I say that's part of the solution, but Islam is bigger than this. There's other things that we have to do as well. No, akhi. If you just turn back to this and you will get... Look at us as a Jum'ah. 50 years I keep saying this, brothers. I'm going to press the right buttons here. Uncomfortable truth here, but look at us. 50 years we've been bashing everybody else. If you follow Quran and Sunnah, you get barakah. Quran and Sunnah, we haven't even got one basic Darul Uloom. We're telling everyone else, you're going to Jahannam, you're this, you're that. Leave everybody else. Let's focus on ourselves. 50 years, we haven't even got one Darul Uloom, and every masjid is saying, can you borrow us an imam? We're struggling. Every other masjid, the first 3 or 4 sufuf are full of hufaz. Oh, but they're going to Jahannam, they're bidatis. We are on Quran and Sunnah. At least show something positive for being on Quran and Sunnah. Apart from breaking up, backstabbing each other, fighting with each other, where's the positivity? So I want to conclude by saying, open your heart, have a bit more tolerance and support. Yes, theologically, follow Islam, but have a bit of room. Like Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, when the Tartars came to town to fight the Muslims, he didn't say, you go, I'm not going to fight alongside you, you are Sufi. He said to the Sufis, those people who was debating, let's put the books to the side. We'll come back and debate later. We'll come back to this later. Let's take our swords out now and deal with the common enemy first. And then we will come back and discuss theology. We will come back and discuss jurisprudence. But at this moment in time, let's come together. We have a bigger enemy outside. This is the mindset that we need to have. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Wallahi, this concept of having rahmah in your hearts, it's much needed, brothers, in today's day and age. It's a quality that Allah loves. We always say, and we begin with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, the one who shows rahmah. We have a narration where a woman who was deemed to be promiscuous in society sold her body. But because of an act of generosity and rahmah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed her to enter Jannah. The hadith goes on to mention, Inna imra'atan baghiyan. A woman who was a loose woman, ra'at kalban fi yawmin harin yutifu bi bi'r. She saw on a very scorching hot day a dog who was going round and round and round a well. قَدْ أَدْلَعَ لِسَانُهُ مِنَ الْأَطَشِ. The hadith is quite descriptive. It says even the tongue was sticking out because of the extreme heat. A dog, kutta. Asane na kutta pleeta hai. A dog was to come here, will jump, run around, oh, napa kutta, which is true. From a fiqh perspective, it is. But look at her action. She saw the dog in extreme heat, needing some relief, so she goes into the well, she brings out water, and the narration mentions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave that woman. She went to Jannah. We have Muslims dying in Gaza. At least have some compassion in your heart. They're not animals. They believe in Allah. They fast like you and I. They pray like you and I. They believe in our Nabi like you and I. And they are being slaughtered because of the Zionists who want to take over the entire area. They have their eyes on Masjid al-Aqsa. You know what's happening. They keep saying it's Gaza, but why are they killing people in the West Bank? And the West Bank and Gaza, they don't get on. There are two different entities altogether. You have Hamas on one side, you have the Palestinian Authority on the other side. They don't get on altogether. So why are the Zionists killing in the West Bank? Why are they usurping the land of the people and making illegal settlements in the West Bank when all it was about removing Hamas? Wake up, brothers. Open your eyes. Wake up. The final point I want to mention is sometimes we get upset when we see what's happening in Gaza. We should get upset to an extent where it doesn't paralyze us. It doesn't give us depression. If it gives you depression and you don't want to get out of bed, you don't feel spiritual, then don't watch anything. Leave it. It's above us. But if it motivates you into action, it's sometimes good to see what's happening. But the point I want to mention is, don't feel too downtrodden, don't feel too pessimistic about our brothers and sisters in Gaza, those bodies that you are seeing being blown up. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us about the outcome of these type of people. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Man qutila duna dinihi fahuwa shaheed." Whoever is dying protecting his religion, he's a shaheed. Man qutila duna damihi fahuwa shaheed. Whoever dies protecting himself, self-defense, shaheed. Man qutila duna ahlihi wa malihi fahuwa shaheed. Whoever dies protecting his family and his wealth, they are from the shuhada. Isn't this what is happening in Gaza at the moment? Are they not defending Masjid al-Aqsa? Because they could easily walk away and say, come on, take it. We don't need this. They say, no, we will dig our heels in. You cannot take over our land illegally. Are they not losing their children as a result, families? Are they not losing their property? Are they not defending themselves? Our Nabi said all of these boxes are ticked. وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ يُقْتَلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يَمْوَاتٌ بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, don't say that these people who die in the path of Allah are dead. They are with Allah in the realm of the barzakh. They are with Allah being provided. It's us, we are spiritually dead. Sad news. We may be alive biologically. We may be alive walking from here. Our hearts are beating. We're breathing in the oxygen. The vital signs are there. Yes, we're alive from that perspective, but spiritually we are dead. And I hate to be in anyone's situation on the day of judgment when we know that we could have at least done something. Speak out against this. Speak to your work colleagues at work and say, this is what you call injustice. Something, but we chose to keep quiet. I feel sorry for us. Spiritual paralysis. And final point I want to mention, moving away from what's happening in Gaza before I wrap up the khutbah, is it's wedding season and you know what's happening. And I always say this at this time of the year, and it's getting worse every year. It's getting worse every year. It's sad that we are not seeing the correlation between the extravagant weddings, the music, the DJ, the haram activities, and the amount of divorces taking place. It's surprising. It's shocking. We can't see the link. I'm shocked. If it was the other way around, then I would say yes, great wedding, DJ, music, man and woman walking in, looking at each other, open display of affection, all the haram, and they've been together for 30, 40 years. Great. It's the other way around. My mother, my father, your father, who stayed with each other for 30, 40, 50 years, they never walked in together arm in arm. So everyone else looks at this immoral act. Islamically, when you are husband and wife, whatever you get up to at home, it's fine. You are even encouraged, rewarded, but you don't display open affection to the whole world. And yet this has become the norm. Oh, they love each other. He Ranja, Lela Majnu. Didn't your grandfather love your grandmother? Didn't your father love your mother? Why didn't they do this, walking arm in arm? Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he gave the khutbah for the wedding, the nikah, he would begin by saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Or you who believe, addressing the people, fear Allah, be dutiful to Allah. Do not forget about Allah. Give Allah His rights. And do not die except in the state of being submissive to Allah. Embracing Islam, living by Islam. And do not die except in this way. How can we expect to die in a way when we don't even live in that particular way? Just want to be like the non-Muslim culture, right? Do you not see the shocking results of their divorce, marriage, divorce, marriage, divorce? You want to copy the film stars? Give me a film star, whoever your favorite film star is. Within a year or two, they're divorced. Bollywood, Hollywood, whoever you look at, they're divorced. They have all the money. Apparently they have all the looks. Apparently they have all the fame. All of these things that our people, Muslims, unfortunately are craving for. Material things, yet they have no happiness. And we want to be like this? Love doesn't come from your dramas, brothers. It doesn't come from watching Bollywood and Shah Rukh Khan films. It's all nonsense. Sisters, if you are listening to this, wake up. If you are being called, or if somebody is messaging you privately, and we know these things happen because us as imams, people approach us later when things go bad. We know women are vulnerable, and somebody will message you and emotionally trap you. You are my princess. I will love you. I will look after you. I will do this. 6 months later, when they get what they want, they run away, look for the second person. Predator. And we are vulnerable because we watch Bollywood, and you think your knight in shining armor is here, your prince charming is here. This is all haram, it's from zina. Allah is the one who gives love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in the Quran. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. From the signs of Allah is that He has created you in pairs. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. So that you can find tranquility in each other. So you can find love in each other. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And it is Allah who creates love and rahmah in your marriage. Allah creates it. You have to make haram halal first. The only way it can become halal is when you don't know each other and your families get together and say, I want my son to marry your daughter. You come together, the imam does the nikah, then the haram becomes halal. Then Allah is saying, if you follow Islam, then I will put love into your life. We don't want to do this, no. We say, Dad, I'm going to go and hunt myself. The girls nowadays, I want to go out and find Prince Charming. So you go haram, 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 haram. And then you find the so-called person. You get married to the so-called person. And within 2 months, ji ka hai ji, talaq hoi ki hai. No barakah. No barakah. No hijab. Modesty is gone out the window. Hijab was an obligation sent down from the 7 heavens. Do you know this? People say, oh, it's my heart is clean. Oh, astaghfirullah, what is this? I don't need to wear hijab, my heart is clean. Does that mean our mothers' hearts were not clean? Fatima radiallahu anha, Aisha radiallahu anha, all of the wives of the Prophet, they astaghfirullah, their hearts were not clean, so they had to cover up. And you, 21st century woman, mera jism, meri marzi, you are okay not to wear anything? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Nabi, Ya ayyuhan Nabi, O Prophet of Allah, قُلْ لِأَزْوَاجِكَ وَبَنَاتِكَ وَنِسَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Tell your wives, your mothers, and the believing women, يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ. Adorn upon yourself your jilbabs, your hijabs. Cover yourselves, modesty. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَىٰ أَن يُعْرَفْنَا فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. This is better for you, O women. So you are recognized and you are not molested. And I want to finish on this point here. What is the Me Too campaign all about? Me Too is when you have Western freedom too much, you throw your hijab away, you go out in your miniskirts and do all the haram things, and then you say, oh, he tried to molest me, he tried to abuse me. Then you come out in society and you say, this is what happened, this is what happened to me. Yet our Creator is saying, if you observe hijab, then the predator man will not be able to look. He may respect you as well. Because Allah also tells a man to lower the gaze. But which men lower their gaze? When you see a woman that has no hijab on and she's showing everything, do you think man is man? Immoral people. Society has been corrupted. And then later on they say, oh, this person did this to me. Me Too campaign, Me Too. I was this, I was that. So the solutions lie in Islam. Turn back to Allah, our Creator who created us, and then you will find that you will live and we will live a life full of dignity and honor, because we are following the manual that Allah has created us with, the Quran. And the Sunnah is the way of our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If you follow them, apply them in your life, inshallah you will see changes in your society. اللهم لك الحمد حتى ترضى ولك الحمد إذا رضيت ولك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك ولك الحمد ولك الشكر وأنت الله أنت الأول فليس قبلك شيء وأنت الله أنت الآخر فليس بعدك شيء وأنت الله نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى وأنت الله الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون وأصلي وأسلم وأبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا خاتم الأنبياء وإمام المرسلين أول من ينشق عنه القبر أول شافع وأول مشفع أول تفتح الأبواب الجنة له صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا مزيدا اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر إخواننا في غزة وفي كشمير وفي كل مكان اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين على أرض فلسطين اللهم انصر إخواننا المرابطين على أرض فلسطين اللهم انصرهم بجند السماء والأرض اللهم ثبت أقدامهم اللهم اربط على قلوبهم اللهم تقبل جهودهم وشهداءهم اللهم ألف بين قلوب المؤمنين وأصلح ذات بينهم اللهم ارحم الضعفاء والفقراء والمساكين والأيتام في فلسطين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين قيموا الصلاة